Uh, guys, she can hear you on the thing.
Hi, this is Zoph. You are watching Simply Scadian, no title required. And we have a really awesome guest today, and I'm very excited about her. So I'm going to hand it over to Lucas, though, so I can do my geek girl stuff.
It's like welcome to Simply Skin, that show that brings you the regular folks, the people in your neighborhood, as it were, in the SCA. We love talking to our regular folks who are on the path still, maybe to their peerage, maybe not. And we really enjoy the fact that they are just as knowledgeable, and sometimes more so, than the people who we love who have achieved greatness and gotten to the top. We feel like we focus a lot on those people. So this show is dedicated to looking at the people on their way up in the SCA. So we need you though. The best thing that you can do for us is hit that Facebook page or reach out to one of us and suggest people. Really, you know the best people to talk to. You know who's in your local community, your barony, whatever, who is just super interesting. That person who sits at a feast or an event and you could listen to them for hours because we want to listen to them for approximately one. So, get to that Facebook page, hit that sheet up. Let us know who should we should be talking to. Now we are dangerously close to the end of our season, and you have not answered the call yet, as far as I know. But we are really trying to push it and find somebody from overseas. We'd really like to expand this show. Now I've been pushing the overseas thing, but we're talking the entire known world. We get a lot of East, Mid, because that's where we play. But we want to get from everywhere. So please reach out to us. Let us know who should we be talking to from all over the known world, all types, please. We want anybody who's working on anything, crafters, fighters, singers, dancers, whatever it is, we want to know about what they're doing, what projects they're up to, what they're pursuing that makes their experience in the SCA so great. I am happy to welcome to the show today Líadan Líathan. See, and then it gets in my head. All right. Líadan Líathan, the first SCA event was the 50-year anniversary held a few miles from her hometown in Danville, Indiana in 2016. She and her husband have been SCA adjacent for decades, but when the SCA chose to host its celebration in their backyard, they dove into the deep end of the medieval pool and did the backstroke. I like that wording there. Líadan has done so much. I mean, this is packed full. So tonight's going to be a great discussion, guys. But it seems to be centered around the Bardic arts. Member of the Bard Guard of the Mid Realm, the War Bard for King Ivan and Queen Catalina, protege to Her Excellency. Can you help me out with the name there?
Myron,
Mayor.
Myron.
An apprentice. Wow, just founding member of the Sternfeld Rapier Bards. I like that term. And just a slew of I can list so many things here, but I think we're going to get into it. She regularly tries her hand at period cooking and cordials, scribal arts, fiber arts, fencing, and all things related to sheep. Just going to pause right there. She has received the Award of Arms, Purple Fred, Purple Fredette, and her participation in the Mid-Realm Brewers Order of the Willow, a royal augmentation of arms, as one of the first to be awarded a beacon, and is the only person to be made a double beacon, Cavendish not, and awarded a second royal augmentation of his arm for her work in Mid-Realm Kingdom's Bard, Order of the Evergreen, is a member of Sternfeld Golden Tower and Vanguard, and was inducted into the Mid-Realm Royal Vanguard, and has a wonderful motto in which she will share with you later. But I'm going to give you the translation first. It's try to do all the things. And I think that's going to be the crux of our discussion tonight. This is a packed bio of somebody who is just really sucking the marrow out of what we can do in the SCA. It's going to be a great discussion. Welcome to the show.
All right, so our usual first question, how did you find the SCA?
I was living around the SCA since the mid 80s, 90s. It was always really close by because my husband and I were very active in the science fiction and fantasy communities as filkers and con runners and such. And there's a lot of crossover between those two communities. So we knew a lot of SCAdians, but we knew them as Mike Longcore and Heather Dale and Ernie Clark and Heather Rose Jones and Bob Aspirin. We didn't know them because they were dressed in their civvies. They weren't dressed as SCAdians, but most of them were performers. So we heard the songs and we heard the stories. We knew what Pennsic War 4 was. We knew it was wet. But we were living in Atlanta, Georgia. And at that time, well, it's still that the way, the heat and the humidity and the bugs and the pollen, and then the idea of wearing 4 layers of woolen linen just didn't appeal to us at all. The idea of going outside and trying to reenact. I mean, we've been part of Ren Fair, but that's 4 layers. It's actually 1 layer that looks like 4 layers. It's fake. It's, polyester, velveteen, stretchy fabric, whatever, but you're just trying to stay cool. And to do it for real didn't appeal. Plus, there wasn't much of a music scene in Atlanta SCA at that time. There probably is now, but at that time, it was all about the fighting and not about the music. So we didn't have any impetus to get involved. And then we moved 15 years ago to Danville. And I got busy with my life. He got busy with his life. My husband was part of this thing they called the Danville Downtown Partnership. So when SCA 50 year hired out the Hendricks 4-H Fairgrounds to have their celebration, they invited the people on the official board lists of Danville to come to a meeting to figure out to tell us what the SCA was about and to ask for our cooperation and help, because there were going to be so many people coming into our sleepy little town. And we went to the meeting. Duchess Elena was one of the main presenters there, and we got the whole spiel. And before the evening was over, we had both volunteered to help staff the information point for people to find out where local things were in and around the town. I don't think we ever do anything in half measures. So we went home and, all the medieval stuff that we had from Ren Fair, none of it was going to work. So I started sewing like crazy. We picked out names and personas. We started doing research. We started revamping the song list because we were terrified that things that we would sing would not be period enough. And we really wanted to fit that period vibe. If we got a hold of Sophie the Orange, who was running the music track at 50 Year, and she said, yeah, sure, I can put you on the busking list. I got a concert here and whatever, and we didn't hear anything more. And so the morning of the first day of 50 Year, I had to work. He went to 50 Year, and I'm driving on my way there, and I get this phone call from him saying, you need to hurry up. There's a dance class and you've got to take it because we're going to feast and we've got to dance. And I'm thinking, who are you and what have you done with my husband? And can I keep you? Would it be okay? So my husband never dances. He was like, ah. And here he is sending me out to the fabric store saying, buy more wool, buy more linen. It was great. But we volunteered quite a bit at 50 Year in the tavern and the busking. I think my husband did 80 hours of volunteer work over the course of that week. And then we immediately signed up for Simple Day in the Country, which is our Barony Sternfeld's second big event of the year. Went out, bought a polyester pimple tent, plunked it down, and we've just never looked back. We've been having the absolute time of our lives. We are having so much fun in the SCA because it encompasses a lot of the hobbies that we did before, but we did them in lots of various places. And now we have this one umbrella that holds shade over all of our hobbies and introduces us to so many more. So we've just been having a really, really good time with the game. We came into it very late in our lives, which I think was a good thing. I was 62. So I think that took a lot of the pressure of the game off of us. We could just have fun. And we didn't feel the need to get out there and compete and go, go, go and do all those things. So we just got to play with the things we wanted with, and that was fine.
So where like before the essay, your love of music, is that from your mundane life? I mean, I don't know what you do for a living
Oh,
or
goodness.
whatnot. Or was that just something that just happened to be, kind of like you were talking about gateway things, and it was like, oh well, I knew this music and it just so happens that this is where I can do it.
Mama said I came out of the womb humming. So it's been kind of a lifelong thing for me. He and I met online and talked to each other on CompuServe Science Fiction and Fantasy Forum every Thursday night for months and months, and never told each other that we were both musicians, and never told each other that we were both going to the same music conference until we met in the hallway where Larry Niven was schmoozing me. But that's a different story. And it was just one of those lightning strike sorts of moments for both of us. He's a very talented musician. We both write and perform very differently, but we found a way to blend our music and work together. We play in a lot of bands. Now we're having a whole lot of fun backing other people up. So that's a ton and a half of fun as well. And the SCA, I mean, we were what they call in the science fiction fantasy community, we were called BNFs, big name fans, because we would get concerts and we have recordings and we do all that stuff. But we've been around for a long time, so we were old hat. We got to the SCA and we were brand new. Nobody knew us. It was wonderful. So I kind of got to start all over again, and it rekindled the music making for both of us. And I think kind of saved us during the pandemic as well, because we were very, very fortunate during the pandemic. We crafted a pod of wonderful, sane, sensible people who washed their hands and tested regularly. And they would come to our house on Friday nights, and we would get to see other people besides just the two of us. And one of them was our Baron, Thomas, and the other was my Laurel, Lucia. And we said, hey, why don't we make some music? So we formed Surreptitious Whiskey, and we just played all the way through the pandemic. And again, we're having a ton of fun with it, doing music that gives us a great deal of joy. We don't feel constrained to do the very exacting period music, although we do like singing in foreign languages, and we're going to kind of stretch our wings a little bit that way. But we're all writing, we're all singing, we're all playing, we all do harmony, and we've got this dream of getting on a stage. And so the husband plays mandolin and guitar sometimes, and penny whistles. Thomas mostly plays guitar, I play the bodhrán, Lucia plays the fiddle, and we want to play a whole number, and then each of us just hand our instrument off to the next one and do another song and have a whole concert like that.
That would be incredible. That would be.
I just think it'd be fun.
So go ahead.
Can I just jump, because I want to get into the SCA stuff, but I do have a question. So you talked a lot about science fiction and fantasy as a precursor. What kind of who's your like favorites in that community?
Oh,
That you know what I mean? That
There
first.
are-
I just because I'm a sci-fi fantasy guy. I teach mythology. I teach literature.
oh, you mean
I
the
want to know where
writers
you.
that inspire the music?
Yeah.
Connie Willis. I adore Connie Willis. Octavia Butler. Larry Niven. I came in with Thieves World, so Bob Aspirin and all of his things. Terry Pratchett, anything that Pratchett wrote, I think is golden. And you're going to learn a whole lot of good stuff if you read Pratchett. You'll turn into a better human being if you read Pratchett. And he should be taught. I stayed away from the apocalyptic sort of things, but Shauna Maguire. And I never thought that I would enjoy reading zombie political fiction. And yet she got me with Feed, and I dare anyone to read that book. It's written underneath her pseudonym of Mara Grant. I dare anyone to read that book, not get to the last chapter and not be weeping. It's so well written. I like good writing, really like good writing. Don't care who writes it. Alex Bledsoe, goodness. Charles DeLint, love Charles DeLint, fascinating stuff. Tanya Huff, really fantastic Canadian writers. So,
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
So your main focus, well, I can't say that because you've been posting feast prep pictures on Facebook lately. Tell me what's going on with that.
I'm getting ready to prepare the feast for Simple Day in the Country. And it's going to be a big feast because we have a wedding going on in our barony the Friday of Simple Day. So I'm having a love feast, and it had been planned to go down one direction, and then there was a big meeting, and now it's completely going down another direction. So I'm starting from scratch right now to revamp everything. But again, I'm having fun with it because my favorite part of feasting is doing the recipe research and testing the recipes and figuring out, yes, I probably should not cook that pink. It should be well done. Otherwise, you're going to make everybody sick. But I'm trying to find foods that will be cool because Simple Day in the Country is always the hottest day of the year. It's 4th of July weekend. And the idea of feast is usually a big, heavy, hot meal. So I want to find nice, cool, light, flavorful meals and play with that.
Where are you
So,
centering your search on that particular period or particular
we
area?
just came back from the UK. Every year we go over to the UK for a British Silk Con, and we went to the British Museum. I picked up a really fantastic cookbook. Must be downstairs in the kitchen, from the British Museum that had some really wonderful recipes on it. And I've been following Tasting History, and he's presented a few things. So I've mainly been looking for cool and not considering time. So if it tasted good and it was in period, I will consider it. But it's still in the initial planning. I'm still on the put this one out, kick that one out, put this one in instead sort of phase of what's going on.
Well, your pork pies look really good. That's all I have to say.
They are hard on the hands though, man. My hand from cutting all that pork belly and mincing it all, making it really, really soft. Ugh. I know I should probably
What
just go ask a butcher to do it.
I was gonna say, that's why you have kitchen minions.
Well, some people have minions. I don't have minions. Not yet.
Not yet.
I have to test it in my kitchen first. So yeah, I'm doing feast.
So your big thing is your persona related big thing, which is Irish. Your
Yes.
Irish persona, you teach Irish classes. You've taught other people to sing Irish songs. Like,
Yes, well, up until recently, I worked for Irish Arts Academy of Indianapolis as an Irish language and Bowron teacher. So I took people from their very initial steps into the modern Irish language. And I've been doing that for 10 years, 10 years. But the Academy has just kind of folded itself into the Cultus Celtori, an organization from Ireland. And so the classes are coming to a close, but we're still able to go out there and teach other people. But we have to make the arrangements on our own instead of going to the Academy. But I've been studying the Irish language for 45 years at least. And I still don't consider myself to be fluent. I still think I talk like a 2-year-old most of the time. But I read really well and I understand what people are saying to me. And now with the SCA, I have an opportunity to take it back 2 steps. So going into Middle Irish, which was spoken until the 17th century, and then going into Old Irish, which is where my persona is mid 7th century Ireland. Gives me a chance to really get into the Irish culture and the Irish mindset and finding out how important poetry was to the Irish way of life. The Irish literature is based in poetry. Poetry came first and then came prose in Ireland. And all of the histories were written in poetry. And it was very demanding poetry. There are long lists of different styles of poetry that are rigorous puzzle games that you had to adhere to. There was a special branch of the language that only the poets knew. And I find it fascinating to try and not just write a poem, but to write a poem in a period to a style that fulfills the rule of the poem, but still says something important. I think that's fun. That's my mind game. So yeah, I love it.
Wow.
So do you primarily, I mean, okay, so that's your profession? That was your profession for many years? I mean,
I was a lot of things. I was a travel agent. I was a tour guide on cruise ships. I was office manager for many years, and I moved to Indianapolis. I couldn't hardly find a job. It was the first time in my life it was hard to find a job, but I became an office manager for a local Episcopalian church, and I did that for a long time until they couldn't afford to keep me anymore. And then I went into, I said, this is a good time to retire. The timing worked out great. So I retired, and then I took up teaching as part-time.
right.
And it happened fortuitously for me. The pandemic actually increased my teaching. People had time on their hands and they wanted to learn how to play an instrument, and they wanted to learn how to speak Irish. And all of a sudden I had people coming out the wazoo trying to take classes. So, and that's still going on. I've still got several students that I'm teaching on a regular basis.
And you also
Some of them,
teach at
they don't have
Penn,
to do it online anymore. They can come out and see me if they want to have an in-person lesson for music.
and you also teach at Penzic, correct?
Oh, yes. I'm now up to 10 classes at Penzic. I'm doing 5 Peace Week and 5 War Week. I usually do a beginning and an intermediate Bowron class. And I do an introduction to the Irish language, and then I'll have an intermediate class that if you've taken the beginning one, you're perfectly qualified to jump into the next one to make people familiar with terms that would get them around Penzic. So I went out and I found all the Irish terms for the titles that we use and the types of things we do, and I teach that. And then I challenge people. I made these little round pins because in Ireland they have a pin you wear on your lapel, and if it's copper it says you're a beginning Irish speaker, and if it's silver you're an intermediate Irish speaker, and if it's gold you're an advanced Irish speaker, and that encourages people to speak when they see it on your lapel. So I got little green emerald chips, and I made little round pendants of those to pin on people's clothes, and then laid a geas on all of my students that if they saw somebody wearing one of these things, they were to greet them in Irish, and they were to respond to whatever they were, whatever anyone said to them. And there is still one of the students there. I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name, but I terrified him because I could see him in a distance, and then I would watch him and I would see him see me, and I could see the panic in his eyes, like, oh, I have to talk to her in Irish. I have to talk to her in Irish. and he tries so hard, and he's doing very well. I found alternative ways for him to say Giaglich. Instead of saying Giaglich to say hello, I just say, you can say hi in Irish, only it's spelled Haigh, hi. That kind of took all the pressure off.
So tell me about Slumber Bardy. What is
Ah,
Slumber Bardy?
Slumber
Slumber.
Party is an activity. Well, the name of my house is called Teach Siamsa, which in Irish means party house, because it's a great big Victorian house with lots of rooms and lots of space, and has the perfect setup for having concert, has a big kitchen. So it's a great place to have a slumber party. And we got it in our heads to invite people to come over on Friday night if they wanted to. They could come over early Saturday morning if they wanted to. And then we conduct a class on some aspect of performance, Bardic arts, that sort of thing, all day during the day on Saturday. And then we break off with time for them to go off into a corner somewhere and do whatever homework assignment they've been given. And then that's the night of the Bardic that we have here in our barony in Sternfield. So all the Bardic people come from all over the barony, and we have a great big music party, and we stay up way too late. And then everybody crawls out of bed in the morning, and we fix a big, full Irish breakfast. And then we make everyone take a vow when they start the class, that they have to raise their hand and promise they're going to try really hard to do the things that we're talking about, and to at least come up with, if say the assignment is a verse and a chorus, and then lay it on the altar of examination and not take any criticism personally, that it's done. We're all going to try and polish the piece up to shining, glowy brightness, so that they'll walk out of the door with something in hand that is ready to be performed and ready to go. And a lot of really good material has come out of Slumber Party. So we open it up first to people within our barony, and then as the places fill up, then we extend it out further and further. And now we've got people coming from long distances away to attend Slumber Party. We do it twice a year.
I've always wanted to go. I've
Oh, come.
always wanted to come to it.
I would love you to come. It would
That
be
would be
fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah. Yes. We're trying, we started doing a unit on storytelling, and we've done it once, but you would be magnificent to come in and work with us on storytelling. It would be great.
That would be fun. Yay. Go ahead, Lucas. I keep hogging her.
No, that's fine. So what are all the various instruments that you play, your husband play?
Oh, my primary instrument is the Irish ballroom. So the frame drum that's played with a stick, beat with a tipper. That's my main instrument. I play the guitar. I'm struggling to learn the fiddle. I can do a little bit on the penny whistle, and mostly my voice. The husband, and I've got a harp that I'm really no good on. And now I have two carnixes because I had a carnix is like an Irish war trumpet. It's about 5 feet tall. It comes out and then goes straight up. And then at the top of it, it looks like a dragon's head with an open mouth and a tongue that flaps. And it's played with kind of a trombone mouthpiece. I'd found somebody at one of our events when I was just starting to be Kingdom Bard who had one, and she agreed to bring it to Penzip and help march in with us, her on the Carnex, me with a bunch of drummers. It would be great. Fantastic. I had a dream. And then, it rained a whole lot. And she didn't feel comfortable bringing the Carnex out. So I understand this is a very expensive instrument. So we didn't have a Carnex. I moaned and moaned and moaned and moaned and moaned. And then I had a cup of wine one night, and then I had another cup of wine. And then I got online looking for Carnexes, and I found a Carnex and I ordered it. And then I must have pushed something wrong because the order didn't go through. And so then I went back and I fixed it, and I thought I had ordered it. Well, no, I ordered another one. So I have two Carnex, which is great. So I can't play it because I have a neurological degeneration of the facial muscles that keeps me from being able to. I played the clarinet, but I can't do it anymore because I can't go and all the air leaks out. I can't blow up balloons, I can't whistle, and I can't play the cornets. But the husband is a trombone player. He can play the cornets.
Do you find being married to someone in the SCA and having, especially because you're both musicians, is it always die and Líadan, die and Líadan, Líadan and die? Do you
It's
feel
always
like,
die and Líadan. It's never been Líadan and die. It's always been
all right, well,
die.
that's how I'm going to refer to you from now on. But do you find it difficult to be separate entities in the SCA?
It's one of the things about the SCA that I find very freeing because we're not required as a couple to be in the same period or even in the same country. Our personas can be vastly different from each other. So I'm mid 7th century Irish, he's like 14th century Welsh, which makes dressing really great because in the winter we dress in his wool and in the summer we dress in my linen. It works out great. We've always been kind of connected at the hip musically. So people see us very much as a package deal an awful lot of the time. I think it's beneficial because we kind of fill in each other's gaps in a lot of ways. I can sing harmony. He's really good on the guitar. We take care of the empty pockets for each other, which works out really, really well. But we're very different people. We have very different opinions when it comes to music, and we're both very outspoken about our opinions. So because we care a lot, so we try and make it all work out really well. But he is his own singer-songwriter person. His style is very different from mine. And we have a rule in our house that the person who wrote the song gets to decide how the song is going to be. So I can't tell him how the song should be in his head, and he can't tell me how the song should be in my head. And I think that's a very respectful way to go about it. But I mean, we're apprenticed and proteged to completely different places who are also very accepting of who we are. So I've kind of been absorbed into his family households, and he's been absorbed into mine. It works out really well.
So then I would ask about surreptitious whiskey at this time. Like, I feel like that's a nice segue for those people that don't know, that who we're talking about when we say that. So how did you guys form that? What's the mission statement there of that particular group?
So back to 50 year, the concert that they scheduled for us at the tavern with the one that we're so nervous about that we can't figure out if any of the things we're going to sing are going to be acceptable. We can't do the pirate songs. We can't do the Irish pub songs. We can't do these songs. We can't do that song. It comes time for our concert, and this person runs up to us and says, "The whiskey barge just walked in the joint. Could we put them on in front of you and then put you on after that? Would that be okay?" And we said, "Sure, what the heck." So the whiskey bards get up and they're performing the pub songs, and they're performing the pirate songs, and it just took the weight off of us. And we just looked at them and said, "We can sing anything we want now," which worked out really great. And Thomas was in the Whiskey Bards, is in Whiskey Bards. And then later he became the Baron of our barony. And like I said, when the plague came around, it was just a natural thing for us to sing and play together and to start writing songs together. So we formed Surreptitious Whiskey. Shh, that's our motto. Shh, Surreptitious Whiskey. And the balance was exactly what I had hoped for a group to have. Again, we fill in for each other's gaps. We've got a tenor, we've got a baritone, we've got a soprano, we've got an alto, and we all like writing songs, and we all like performing, and we all try to be as generous as we possibly can with each other and with the music. And again, we're having a heck of a lot of fun with it. So we came out to Penzic 3 Penzics ago, I think it was 3 Pensics ago, and had our first concert there, and it went very well. And then Tanis started taking us fire crawling, which is so much fun. So the person who has the hard time is my husband, because he has to drag a wagon around with all of his instruments. Me, I just got the barrel, and that's okay. He's got a wagon. We're getting ready to go into the recording studio and start laying some tracks down.
Wow.
Which is so funny that you say that was 3 Pensics ago, because that's where I first saw you. I was the lighting tech for
Ah.
that block of time in the Pat. I Zoph said, "Hey, can you cover this?" We lost. Great, sure, yeah. And I came up, and you were actually the first. I didn't intro you, but I came up just at the start of your concert, and then was there through the whole thing. So that I thought, I thought I'd just been missing you for a long time. You know what I
No,
mean?
no,
You
yeah,
realize that
brand new.
I was seeing the first
Yep,
thing there, but yeah.
brand
So
new.
yeah, I like, I love the music. When you say you can't do the things, I don't think there's things you can't do necessarily, but
I have
have
opinions.
you encountered a lot of any pushback, or no?
I think that there is some pushback in certain corners. I personally believe that what we are doing as singer-songwriters in the SCA is what bards did. We are actually being authentic to what bards did. We are writing songs about the people that we know. We are praising the people who are leading us and doing wonderful and glorious things. We are satirizing people out the wazoo when they deserve it. We're doing what bards did. I can read music. I don't find myself capable of transcribing or doing very, very periody pieces. I wasn't trained that way, but there are other people in the band who are. And the more I discover the bardic tradition in Ireland, bard in the Irish tradition was the lowest level of performer in the Irish tradition. It was you were a not completely trained person to be a bard, and that word has gotten taken by the Sassenach, by the English, and turned into something that means a musician or a poet or a playwright or whatever. But in the Irish status, you're still starting to call yourself a bard. You're not the expert in your field. You have to become an olive to have been at the highest level of your training. So I feel very competent in calling myself a bard in the SCA, because I feel I've still got a whole lot to learn and a lot to do.
So there's other things that you list as stuff that you're interested in. So we talked about cooking. So you list cordials, scribal arts, fiber arts, fencing, and all things related to sheep.
Sheep. I love sheep. I want sheep. I really want to have some sheep. Just not a lot of sheep, maybe 5, maybe 10 sheep of my own to raise and shear and comb out their fleeces and spin it and dye it and turn it into wonderful, lovely things. They're peaceful, lovely, wonderful animals who will run over you like a Mack truck if you're not careful. But I've been a fibery person since I was 10. My mother taught me to sew when I was 10, and I've been sewing ever since. So but I love playing with fibers. I love the textures and the feels and the shimmers. And I'm kind of a crow-like person. My symbol on my coat of arms is a blackbird. Not a crow, but a blackbird, because blackbird has the most tunes of all the birds in Ireland. But I think of those blackbirds as the ones who are always on the lookout for something shiny, for something soft and something sparkly, and trying to make things beautiful out of cloth. And I love to cook. So the husband is a brewer, and I like beer. I like some beers, but I really like making cordials. Cordials are so much fun to hit the fruit at the peak of the season and get it soaking in a nice stiff vodka and watching the color fade out of the fruit and drain into the liquid, and then feel that marvelous, fresh, summery taste months later in the dead of winter. And it just brings it all right back to you. So I love making cordials. Um, I'm an artist. I consider myself to be a competent artist. So it was natural to fall into making scrolls. I only have a few hands, but I'm pretty good at the couple of hands that I have. But I have more fun decorating the outside, around the outside of the scrolls. And it's kind of like what we do with the Praise Poetry Project, where I get to sneak around surreptitiously and find out about these people that I don't know, and then translate it into something artistic and put it on a piece of paper that's going to be meaningful to them later on in their lives. We're creating artifacts. We're creating treasures for other people. And I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. I had a woman, I was giving out a scroll for a person, and I had it almost all completely finished. And the scribal leader came back to me and said, she loves bulldogs. Can you put a bulldog in it somewhere? Sure, what the heck? You're on me.
I mean, I look at the resume and I'm like, wow. I mean, you really are. I think for anybody who watches this show, just like doing all the things. Right, like as you said, just it really is. It really is just one of those things where just do all the things. Um, you know what I mean? And I love that about your message. Is there anything you don't like that you tried that and you were like, that is not for me?
Elizabethan costuming. I never want to wear anything with boning in it ever again. We, as a barony, we all got together and went to see Six when it came to the theater here. And I borrowed some Elizabethan costuming from a friend of mine who does it very, very well. And that was enough to convince me that I never want to dress like that ever again in my life. So that's not for me. I want to get back to fencing. I'm getting ready to have a medical procedure that may make it possible for me to start doing that again, because I really like stabbing people. It kind of saved our marriage, because you take all the frustrations out, go kill your husband, and then fall in love again. It's great.
So tell me about the Praise Poetry Project.
My Laurel, Lucia de la Braganza, came up with this brilliant idea of writing praise poetry for the crown tournaments. So in the autumn, we write for the combatants, and in the spring, we write for the consuls. And we get the poems, we get the names the same time everybody else gets it. So as soon as they drop the list, she madly starts assigning poems to people. And when we first started it, it was just write a poem, just write a poem. So we would write any poem. We didn't care about style or anything. We just write a poem. Then we started getting a little pickier about style. So the game part of it is to find out as much as you can about that person that you're writing for, and then write the poem in the style of poetry that would have been matching their persona as much as you can. And the level of quality of poems has risen year by year by year. We're on our 12th or 13th round of poems now. Lucia and I got out the calculator and started adding them up. And depending on how many entrants there were in a year, we've written somewhere around 300 poems with all of the poets. So we usually, again, farm it out to people in Sternfeld first, but then the word got around, and now other people really want to write poems. So other people put their hands up, and lots of people are getting involved in writing praise poetry for the folks who are fighting for crown. The cool thing is, one of the cool things, there's a lot of cool things about it. The Shiv don't usually get to hear the poem, because they're almost always taken off into a meeting as soon as things are over, so they don't get to hear them. And now they're having us read the poems as the candidates are introduced right before the tournament starts. So again, they don't get to hear the poem that much because they're marching in and then they're kneeling in front of the crown and they're getting their conversation with the crown. So they don't get to hear any of the things that we're saying to them about them. And then afterwards, we go out and give them a copy of their poem. And they're special. I've had people tell me that they've gotten calligraphers to illuminate their poems and they have them framed and on their walls. So it doesn't hurt good.
I mean, I know they're personal and whatnot. Have you ever done like a collected works or something where like people could like
Oh,
maybe go to like a Barony website or something and look at those, or you know?
early days, there was this CAF to Codex project that Johannes started, where he took the skin from the sheep, made the paper, created the book, and then he didn't have anything to put in it. So he got a hold of Lucia, and one of the first rounds of poetry went into the CAF to Codex project, and they're getting ready to start another one of those. I had the idea that we've been doing this for so long, and there are some fighters who've been fighting every single year in every single one of these rounds. So we could make a whole book of each. We could have a whole book of each one of these fighters who's been doing it for all this time, because every year they get one poem written about them, and every year their consort gets a poem written about them. So we're getting to the point where we could start having those kinds of collections put together. I think it's kind of exciting.
That's awesome. All right, we are, believe it or not, we are getting close to out of time. Lucas, did you have any more questions?
Like 1,000, like.
Well, then ask one.
Well, no, you know what it is I'm just gonna have to bother Penzic. I'm gonna have to take some classes. I definitely know that, you know.
Please.
Um, like I'm here for it. Like everything you brought up, I'm like, oh, I'm down with all of that. I would be there in a heartbeat. No, I think we're in a good place. I think you know, any other things now would lead to something else, and it's
Right.
a good.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Líadan, what is one thing the SCA can do better?
We need to embrace change a little bit better than we do. We need to strive to be a little more inclusive in what we're doing. This is a game we're playing, and I love playing games. I'm a big game player. I had a white box set of D&D when it first started out, but that game is not the game that I play now. It's changed over the years. And I think the SCA is the same. The game that started in Diana Paxson's backyard is not the game we're playing now. It's changed, it's grown. We tell newcomers as Shadowlands that they can play this game any way they want. They can stand way back and admire the pool from a distance, or they can dip their toes in, or they can jump into to their knees, or they can do the backflip off the high dive and just stay in the deep end of the pool. It's up to them. But what we don't tell them is that within the confines of the rules of the game as it is right now, there is a very small subset of people who will ever win the SCA game. And the game has been constructed that way. And some of these, within that subset, there's another subset of people who will win it multiple times. But then there's this vastness of people who will never, ever participate. I'm standing in awe of the East Kingdom right now, and their courage to take a step and open up the dam gates to let there be a different pathway to crown. I think that there should be an armored crown. I think there should be a rapier crown, and an heavy thrown weapons crown, and equestrian crown, and an arts and sciences crown, an ability for more people to be able to play. And if you look at it as a game, I don't think there's any of us who would say, take our Monopoly game out and even pick up the little lead race car if we thought there was no chance we could ever win. We need to change the way we look at it, because right now the SCA looks at it like a piece of pie.
Right.
And if I give you the pie, it doesn't mean there's less pie for me. It means we all get to enjoy pie. I want everybody to enjoy pie.
Right.
That's sad.
Yes. All right. We have been talking with Líadan. I'm not even going to try to say your last name. Um, yeah. Oh, wait, you didn't say your motto for us in Irish.
My motto is Déan Iarach na Rudy Galera Yénar. Try to do all the things.
That was beautiful. And yeah, I guess we're both going to be taking beginning Irish.
Beginner's class.
Okay.
Yay, more students.
All right. So you've been watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. We will be back in 2 weeks with one of our final guests for the season. We only have a couple more shows before we're done, before June hits and we wrap it all up. Thanks for watching. See you in 2 weeks. And I'm clicking a button.